We needed a flat bar road bike for a video, but it was proving extremely difficult to get hold of one at the moment. So we thought, well, we'll just make our own. This being GCN, we got a little bit carried away and ended up making this. This is our Orbea Orca Streetfighter. Yeah, what is a Streetfighter, you ask? It's a style of motorbike, so I've been told, a sports bike that you then strip back, remove all the fairings and stick on a flat handlebar. And it has to be said, when this bike showed up, it seemed very apt. Certainly a lot cooler than the sound of a hybrid. Now, the chassis of this bike is, of course, an Orbea Orca. Normally, this has 105 group set when it's got drop handlebars on it, and it's one of their mid-range bikes, so an Orca OMR, which shares the same aggressive silhouette as the top-end Orca OMX frame, but weighs just 200 grams more for the frame, and Orbea say actually is marginally more compliant as well. Now, the first step to make your own flat handlebar Streetfighter bike is, of course, to put on a flat handlebar. But it's not quite as simple as that, because if you just put a flat handlebar on a normal road bike, you mess with the handling quite significantly because your weight ends up further back and you end up making the bike feel exceedingly twitchy. So actually, step one was to put a longer stem on, and as you can see, we have dusted off a whopping 140mm long Pro Vibe stem, which sounds ridiculous in the context of a drop handlebar bike, but actually, when you think about it, it puts your weight pretty much back where it would be if you were riding on the brake hoods. We've also stolen a handlebar from the guys at GMBN. We've put a 740mm wide handlebar, and that too, when combined with the stem, slows the handling down. So actually, this thing now corners like it's on rails again, and it gives you oodles of confidence. Now, you'll see that we have managed to still keep the integrated cables on this bike. It's a super neat feature of the Orbea Orca, although this stem doesn't have the recess underneath it that the Orbea stem has. And so you can see the brake hoses if you look closely, but our legendary mechanic Peter has done a cracking job of neatening the whole thing up. I think you'll agree, it looks awesome. Step two, when converting a drop bar bike to a flat bar bike, is to deal with the shifters and the brake levers, because obviously your normal drop bar setup won't work on here. So we needed to replace both of them. And actually, it can be quite complicated, as you'll find out. In our case, whilst you can very easily buy a flat handlebar shifter for a Shimano group set, we didn't have one lying around, but what we did have was a SRAM ETAP Access shifter. And so off came the Shimano group set and on went a Force Wide road group set instead. Now, one of the great things about ETAP Access is that road and mountain bike components all work together. And so in this case, the setup was completely seamless. We've got a 1036 cassette on the back and we've got a 44 tooth single ring setup up front. Now, in terms of the brakes, until recently, that would have been quite complicated because you couldn't get a flat mount caliper attached to a flat handlebar brake lever. But fortunately, a lot of cross-country mountain bikes now are starting to move over to flat mounts. And so there are calipers that are officially compatible. And we're, of course, using SRAM ones on here, paired up to level brake levers. Step three then, and we're on to the finishing kit. In terms of wheels, as you can see, we've gone for Vision Metron 55 SLs. Not chosen for their aerodynamic properties, more just because they look exceedingly cool. And I think you'll agree, they do look exceedingly cool. Onto those wheels, we've got Pirelli P0 tyres. Now, we fitted 28s on there, but actually I'd be tempted to go even wider, only because this bike gives you so much confidence. It kind of makes you want to ride it like you stole it. And so actually having slightly thicker rubber on there might enable you to go jumping down steps and riding off-road and doing all the things that you probably shouldn't be doing on a road bike, but you kind of want to now. But yeah, The last finishing touch that I'm exceedingly happy with are these colour-coded grips. Yes, colour-matched ergon grips that again happen to be knocking around in GCN Megabase and set this bike off perfectly. I'm a big fan of a Tangerine Dream paint job. What about the performance of this bike then? I will let you watch the video over on GCN to find out just how fast this bike goes, but in terms of weight, feels exceedingly light. I don't think you save anything by swapping from drops to flats, but certainly the scales I think are pretty impressive. I hope you have enjoyed this little look at our GCN Streetfighter bike. I've got to say, if you were in the fortunate position of having an old road bike at home, then I've got to encourage you to have a go at making yourself one, because it is an awful lot of fun. And I wish I could justify having one of these bikes to cruise around town on, because, well, there's definitely room in my shed for one, let's put it that way. Anyway, please give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And of course, make sure you check out that video over on GCN if you haven't seen it already.